We're live.
Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to Devon Live Chat. The two subjects which we are hoping to talk about today between us and maybe yourself as well, and you can always put some comments on, is about Mr. Cummings, Dominic Cummings, very much in the profile of the media at the moment. Has he made it better or worse as the government lost a lot of people in their belief? Does it mean that people can now decide to travel where they want, when they want? What about the people who have actually been told that they were fined for doing certain things? Should they then say that they need to have their money back? What's your viewpoints on that then, Chris?
There's been a lot of it on the threads in the thing at the moment, and it's turning into, like I put in my threads, the debacle, like Trumpism, split parties. If you damn him, anybody, whether it's a journalist, they go more on about the journalist, but say someone like me, just a local person, we're Brexiteers, or we're this, or we're that, or we're fit because we, and that's, to me, that's typical. That's more bully boy tactics. If you dare speak out about them, if it'd been anybody, if it'd been me, I'd have been gone. There's no question of that. I firmly believe, and I'll put it on record as saying he lied, absolutely lied through his teeth. It was her birthday, they were there, but now you're getting this other.
I'll put a question to you. How far have you got to go before you can work out if your eyesight is good enough to drive?
Well, I put in my thread, the police now can pick him up for dangerous driving. Because if he admitted to that, and when he climbed in that car, he still had problems, which he said he did, he needed to go for a drive to clear it, and he drove the first whatever, right? I also think, because I'm diabetic, I had my eyes done. And I am told I cannot drive for an hour and a half, and then only if it's safe to do so, right? So you drive out the car park, and by the time you get to the main road that you're either good or you're bad. He only needed to do a mile up the road. He did not need to do 30 miles to a castle, and then 30 miles back. And my saying is this: all the way through it, he kept saying, "I did it for the good of my family. Everyone would have done what I did for my family, my family." Yet when it came to testing his eyesight, he put them in the car. He actually had them in the car. Surely that's life risky.
It's a bit one-sided, isn't it? I wonder how many people, because like the other issue, what's going on at the moment is lifeguards on our beaches, and RNLI said that they are going to start manning some of the beaches because of the 2-meter rule. How do you swim out to somebody and go, sorry, I can't touch you, but here's a rope or whatever? One of the beaches which they said is going to start being manned, I think, from Monday is Croyd.
Right.
No.
Which I think, if they get it right, why do people want to go into a rough old sea, especially this time of the year when you've got rip tides, you've got a big swell, and a lot of people are coming down. If you know the beach and you know your limitations and you're going to go out on your surfboard, you know what you're doing. For those inexperienced people, they shouldn't go anywhere near that water at all, especially there's no cover, nobody looking after the well-being of everybody. It's a bit worrying, but then I suppose they can always refer back to what's being said by Dominic Cummings, that I was just going to test my eyesight to see how far I could see out to sea. Would that be a good enough excuse for him?
It's obvious, no offense. He kept saying, 1 minute he's saying his wife got it, the next minute she hasn't got it. When it first came to the thing, he said, "Oh, my wife showed signs of having it," and in his next breath, so I went off to work. Yet on another thing, he's driven them 250 miles because he didn't want to leave them on their own. It's every single thing he said. if you were questioned by the police over a traffic accident or something like that, they'd be laughing in your face. They know you must be a decent copper, and I bet you every single one of them would say, by his facial expression, he was lying. And they're allowing them to do it. They're not. The only other thing that's come to light, and I don't want to go into like a science fiction or anything like that. 2 days after his visit to that castle, Glaxo had signed a massive deal for this virus thing in France. And our government are majorly involved in it. He, went to their offices.
And where are their offices based?
And the offices is in Barnard Castle.
Funny that, isn't it? 2
days later, this thing was signed. He'd been overseeing all these type of things. He's part of all that. And that's why, in my opinion, I might be completely and utterly wrong. In my opinion, I reckon that's why Boris Johnson is stuck by him, because he probably told him to go and do that.
Was this
if that was the case, why didn't they?
Same time as Boris was in hospital, or was it just before?
Just before.
Well, why didn't they say at that point then that he was sent on an official reason?
Yeah, there you go. Why did it take too long? He kept denying that he'd been to the castle. It's only. Do you think if anybody hadn't have seen him, do you think he'd be admitting it now? He'd be saying, I didn't. And the other thing, he's not that clever, because he kept saying that from day one, the press have hounded him outside his house. They've only hounded him over this, right, in the last, say, 5-6 days. But he said, no, he was hounded from the day he was sick, right? So show us CCTV of all these people outside your house back then. There won't be nobody. Nobody.
Well, I don't know if you guys have seen what a certain political group did the other day, which was to park a van with a giant screen outside.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Yeah, repeating the warnings that Boris Johnson gave and the instructions that we were given.
Yeah, but they were written by those warnings were written by him. That's the hypocritical thing. They were written by him, and he'd be the first one to condemn anybody. They were all written by him.
What do you think about what the group did? You know, could that be classed as an invasion of privacy?
Say again.
What do you think of what that group did? Do you think it was a bit over the top?
No, technically, as long as they were on the main road and they weren't in his garden or touching his stuff, it was an invasion of privacy. You know, that they could park up anywhere and show that. You know what they were doing, Bogey? They were expressing people's anger. You know, my partner's son had it bad in North Devon Hospital. She couldn't go and see him. Couldn't even stand outside the hospital. Wouldn't even allow to leave the house. You know, I know people with kids who they're terrified. They weren't allowed to leave the house.
Yeah.
With all their money, okay, here's another one for you. His wife works, he works. So they've got bona fide nannies. They have got qualified nurse nannies with, you know, who work for the NHS perhaps. So they would, if they needed to, if you had a child and you were ill and your wife was ill, you would find someone in a split second to look after those children. You wouldn't have to go 250 miles and think that they're the only person in the world that can look after them. It was a load of rubbish. It was her birthday, and they went to see his parents. The other thing they need to do, I don't think if anyone's thought about it, is go on Google Maps and look at the property and see how many cottages are on that property. All this about he isolated to different. He wouldn't have gone 250 miles, stayed in a cottage and not had contact with them. Rubbish. Yeah, I'm not saying he touched them. You know, you've got the 2 meter rule. That's fine. There's no way he went all the way up there just to stay in a cottage on their grounds when he could have done that. You know, Boris has got upteam properties. You know, it's just. He couldn't tell the truth about why he went and did it. You know, but then he's expected. And that's typical. And I ain't saying it's Conservatives. I'm not having a go at the Conservatives because, you know, they're all, in my opinion, all of them twist everything. They all twist it. Whoever's in and whoever does it, they twist it for their own good. It's us people, what I consider to be normal, everyday people, law-abiding people, doing what we're asked, doing what we're told, and we're the ones who always get shit on. Always.
As it says, it's also strange that it was his wife's birthday the day before they went to the castle. I don't know if you can see that on your screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Hey?
Yeah. It's his mother's birthday as well.
So what about this company then who's going to be looking after the things with this new app? Isn't that something to do with his family as well?
His wife runs the company.
That's
And that's true. And that is true. And if they, for God forbid, find that it doesn't work and it can mess people's heads up and mess people up, you know, it's a bit like the Trump situation with what he endorses. They're endorsing and saying, "Oh no, you've got to have it, you've got to have it, you've got to have it." Always someone will gain from this. Always. There's always someone going to gain from this. You know, and everything's tried out on us. I know we're the mass, the public are the mass, but it's always tried out on us. But they don't get the benefits of the money in that. Someone somewhere makes money out of grief. Wars, everything. We know that.
Well, I don't. As you brought up the Trump situation at the minute, slightly going off topic a little bit. I don't know if you saw the news this morning about France and they're stopping using hydrochloroquine as a potential treatment.
They've stopped it.
They've stopped using hydrochloroquine as a treatment for the COVID-19.
Yeah.
Because WHO did a wonderful study over the week, or over the week it was published, and the figures on how dangerous it actually can be was absolutely terrifying.
Do you know, 2 weeks ago, Logie, 2 weeks ago, Trump was endorsing it. And do you know what he said? When someone asked him outright, they said, "Have you got interest in that?" And he went, "Yeah, I brought loads and loads and loads and loads of it." And he said, "I got a right to, you know, make an investment." And then he's being allowed to endorse it on, you know, he's trying to get people to take it because he spent a lot of money thinking it was true and then found out it wasn't true. Now he's got to offload it.
Yeah, last week he admitted to the fact that he was taking it as a treatment, as a preventative.
Yeah.
And when interviewed or during one of his briefings, they turned around and said, you know, "Are you still taking it?" And his response was, "Well, I'm taking it for another couple of days, but then my treatment has stopped." So even Trump is not taking it now.
He's a clown. I mean, we're not far behind in line with what's going on here, are we? Not really. You know, that's the sad thing is.
Hello. Right, I've got an anonymous teacher because we're actually going to move into talking about children going back to school on Monday. I think it's year one and or is it year 6 and entry? Hello, anonymous teacher.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
That's okay. You're more than welcome. What's your viewpoints? Are the schools, have they been prepared? Have you had, as part of, you know, your well-being, has that all been taken into account? Have you had a lot of time of going?
It's obviously been a really difficult time for, you know, the head teachers of schools at the moment. They've been put under kind of quite a lot of pressure to try and get schools safe enough for teachers and for pupils to kind of reopen come Monday the 1st of June. So obviously it's a bit hectic and all up in the air at the moment. There's had to be kind of risk assessments put in place. I know that there are a number of teachers in school this week when it should actually be their half-term week. They've had to go in, they're still in there now, taping out areas, cleaning out things, moving around furniture, putting away toys, working out kind of the logistics of trying to get children in as safely as possible. So it's really hard, I think, for for everyone at the moment to and everything that they're doing. So yeah, there has been a lot of pressure on us teachers, and more particularly the head teachers of schools.
I found it quite strange that there's been lots of deep cleaning going on at schools when the virus can only last for like 72 hours before it no longer can affect anybody. Has your school been doing deep cleaning as well?
No, we've not been doing deep cleaning. We've kind of just done like the regular cleaning that we would do anyway. The schools get cleaned every night. The surfaces get wiped down, the door handles, etc. like that. That's just the norm, the normal kind of cleaning routine in a way. But what we have been doing is, so when we've got the younger children coming in, because we've got some nursery children starting back on Monday, they have to have their own kind of sets of toys to play with. They're not allowed to share toys. So it's kind of putting away toys that they're not allowed to play with, like sand pits and things like that. And making sure that like toys like bricks and things that they will inevitably put into their mouths are cleaned and wiped down. So no, we haven't been doing deep cleaning. I'm not sure about other schools, but I know that our school haven't. We've just been kind of sticking to the kind of the normal cleaning routine, really.
So a couple of questions for you, anonymous teacher. One is, what is the two age groups what are being invited back to school on Monday?
So the age groups that are being invited back are Year 6, which is the oldest year group, Year 1, which is one of the youngest, and also nursery as well, which are our really little ones who obviously have very little understanding of kind of what's going on at the moment. So I think they're going to find it most difficult.
What about what we used to call break time or play time? How do you or your colleagues stop the children from playing together, literally playing tag and other things like that? How do you stop that, or don't?
I mean, so we're quite fortunate in a way to have a very large playground area, and we have different areas within the playground that we can kind of social distance the children, as you will, within their pods. So we're calling it pods of 15 children. So I think from what I understand is that you can't really stop the children from socially playing with each other. That's what they're just kind of going to do anyway, especially those younger year groups. The older year groups can obviously try much harder because they might have more of an understanding, but the younger ones, I don't think you can stop them from playing with each other altogether. It's just going to be keeping them within their pods of children that they're putting into when they come into the school, but obviously separated throughout the playground, really. So I don't think there is a way that you can kind of stop those children from playing together. It's one of the most important things that we encourage children to do. We encourage them to play with each other and socialize. It's an important and key skill that they must have to develop. So I don't think there is a way of stopping them. We just have to try our best to encourage it, don't we?
Now the thing that's going through my mind is class sizes. I don't know what your normal class sizes are at the school where you work. But if they're actually going to cut down on the class sizes to actually get everything in the normal perspective of learning, does that mean that you cut down on the size of the class? Therefore, you have to do the same part of that teaching twice. Because if you've got, say, 25, 30 children in a class and you can only have 15, that then means that you've got to do it twice. So does that put extra pressure if it means you've got to work longer hours?
The way that it kind of works is that all other teachers are having to chip in. So it's not just the Year 1, Year 6 and nursery teachers that might necessarily be coming into school. There might be other teachers who have to get involved as well. So as you say, the class sizes do vary, and it's not uncommon these days to have class sizes of 30 plus children for one class. So that's inevitably halving a class as such. Now, not all children, have decided to come back to school. So it will just kind of depend on the numbers and depend on whether the parents have signed them up to come back. But if you have, say, 30 year one children who have signed up, there will be one teacher with a class of 15 children, and then there will be another teacher who might not be that child's teacher, with the other 15 children. That's the way it's had to work, and that's the way it's kind of had to be. I do think there's an awful lot of pressure being put on teachers at the moment, to not only deliver lessons in school to these children and to make sure that they're getting the best out of their education as possible, but also delivering lessons online and virtually to those who remain at home.
Yeah, because a lot of teachers, and I think you've been one of them actually, has been doing your lessons regular through the shutdown online, that all the children were given laptops. Is that working out reasonably well?
I mean, in our school, because we're part of an academy, it does work out. It is working really, really well at the moment, because we've got kind of several schools within the mix that can all support each other, and there's quite a few members of staff in each year group who can kind of support each other across the trust. I know in other schools it's not really been working out well, because they might not have the technology to do that. They might not have the resources to kind of give the children. We've been quite fortunate in a way. Personally, I think it has been working well. We've been working very long hours, and it's been a lot more stressful to try and support the children as best as we can, without actually being there in person to kind of give the child that one-to-one support that they would normally have if they were in a school-like situation. So yeah, it has been really difficult for us teachers. I know a lot of people have thought that teachers are being lazy, they're not doing anything at home. That is definitely not the case. If all the teachers, just like me, have been working from 8 till 5, or even further than 5, from Monday to Friday. Their weekends, we're spending the weekends recording videos for children, recording lessons for children. If they can't watch it live, then they can watch it recorded. So what we're providing the children online and virtually at the moment is massive, and I feel like teachers are under a lot of pressure at the moment to perform and deliver.
What's your viewpoints, and maybe your colleagues' viewpoints? Are you ready to go back, or would you rather it stay locked down for a bit longer?
I don't see the harm in it staying in lockdown for longer, just to kind of make sure it is safe, not only for the children but for us teachers as well. There isn't an awful lot of health and safety put in for us teachers. We don't have the PPE because there's just a shortage of PPE across the country at the moment. I don't feel like we have that in place. I know that government are saying that we don't necessarily need PPE. I don't agree with that at all. You wouldn't put, say, a doctor or someone like that in their workplace without it. And, we are just as much in the front line as those in a way, as such. So I do believe that, no, we're not particularly ready to go back to school. But we have to kind of see how it goes. And I don't know. I feel like it shouldn't really be the youngest year groups taking that step back in. I kind of feel like we are using them as guinea pigs as such. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, really, what kind of comes out of it.
I suppose they picked on those years because of cutting down the class sizes, and the teachers that you have then can cope. But if the whole school went back, you wouldn't be able to do it, would you? If the whole school went back, we would definitely not be able to do that at all. The social distancing just wouldn't work. The staggering of playtimes, the staggering of lunch times, it just wouldn't work. You'd spend the whole morning staggering your playtimes, and then the whole afternoon staggering your lunch times, and you wouldn't get any learning done. Which is why I don't see any harm in kind of leaving it this side of summer until we go back into September, where we could have a much kind of clearer picture of how things are and the way that we're going to do things. I feel like we haven't been given enough time
by the government. 2 weeks is just simply not long enough to put into place loads of procedures and risk assessments, and to go into school and sort everything out ready for children to return. 2 weeks is not long enough to do that. And I feel like we have kind of been left in the loop really and thrown in the deep end, which is really unfair.
If this continues and it gets into September, could you visualize children in a school like where you are, where they say year 1 and year 3 are in this week, they're off the following week, because then year 2 and year 4 can go on? Could you visualize that sort of thing happening, to space it around with all the teachers?
I don't really know, to be honest. I don't know how things are going to work. I don't know. I think a lot of teachers are very unsure at the moment of how things could work and the way things run. I think head teachers are working tirelessly. They are working so hard to come up with plans to keep children and teachers safe. They are the ones who, run the school at the end of the day, and they do come up with the best possible plans. I know that they're in meetings until midnight and gone, coming up with solutions, coming up with things that they could do to kind of support us. So the head teachers are the ones, who are working the hardest at the moment to try and get all of that into place. I mean, I think us teachers are just really, really unsure of where things are going and what the future of schools is going to look like at this moment.
So all those heads and the department, have they been getting any directives from like Devon County Council, Ministry of Education? Have they been getting any of this, or have they just been given an overall picture, say, this is what we want, get them back to school?
Yeah, so I mean, the head teachers and stuff, they've been given guidelines to follow, as all schools have. I don't really know what else is kind of goes on behind the scenes and stuff. I'm sure there is a lot more support than what we know of, but all I know is that they have to follow the government guidelines, and that is it. At the end of the day, those are the rules that they set out, and those are the rules that we have to follow as a school.
One more question for you before I let you go.
No worries.
Feedback from parents. Have you had any feedback from parents saying, yep, we're going to send ours along because we need to get back to work or whatever, or others saying, no way am I sending my youngster back yet? Have you had any feedback like that yet?
It's been very mixed. It kind of varies, really. Obviously, schools have been open for those key worker children, not since the beginning, really. And there have been children in school who have taken up that care and that provision in school at the moment. Some parents are kind of, it really does depend on the type of area that the school is in, like the type of catchment area. I think it also depends on the parent's situation. I know that some parents may have underlying health issues, so they're reluctant to send their children back to school, just because they're not willing to risk it, which I don't blame them at all. Whereas some parents are saying, I really need to get back to work. And we're saying that's absolutely fine. So I think it depends on the family situation. I think if parents think that there is someone who can look after their child at home, then they'll keep their child at home. But if they have to get back to work, which is totally understandable, then they'll send their child into school. I think it's just a big mix, really. And it just kind of depends on that family and their views and their opinions and what's kind of going on there.
Is it one of these things that the profession that you're in, regardless if you want to go back or not, you're going to go back because of what you do as a job?
I think all teachers would agree that our job has always been the priority in our job has always been the children, and that's not just one child, like every child. That's it's every individual child in your class. I think us teachers, we will always be there to support every single child in any way that we can, and we will all go above and beyond to support those children. And I fully believe that every teacher out there has been going above and beyond for their students, to support their students in their home environment, or whether they have been in school or not. the priority at the end of the day is to make sure that we give the children the very best start in life as possible, as much as possible, and making sure that those children are happy and safe and healthy. And I think at the end of the day, at this moment, making sure that the children are happy and healthy is the most important thing in my eyes.
I think you're very, very brave, every one of you, every man, a woman, headmaster, headmistress. It is a tough thing that you've got to do at the best of times, and under the circumstances at the moment, it's absolutely brilliant, because the government says this is what we're going to do, and then that's how you're going to do it. Especially with the new thing of if viruses start to get worse in certain areas, there's going to be regional lockdowns, so we could actually all be back to square one before we even realise it. Let's open it up. Any questions for our anonymous teacher, Chris or Loki?
Yeah, sorry, Loki, come on.
No, go, Chris.
I think they do an amazing job, absolute amazing job. Those children in the classes become their children. I know they're not the logical, but they become their children, and they worry about them like we would all worry about them. And they obviously want what's best for those kids. They would love it to return to normality.
Absolutely.
But I just feel that you're all doing a terrific job, whatever way you do it. I think we're also, being from a technical, all of us sat here are from a technical family, as in work. And I do believe we are looking at the future. I think you're going to get schools who can't afford to run schools, and the government must be looking at this and saying, like offices, oh, we can have teachers at home doing 15 kids in their own houses, you know, or a little school, you know, like they might have 10 in one room, 10 in another room, and 10 in another room with one teacher. You know, they'd have class assistants to look after them and make sure they're not running riot. But I think you're going to find that that whoever, like the government, are going to turn it to their advantage and make the teacher's job even harder in the future. But you've got to move with the future, whatever happens. This is proven that it works. It definitely works in the office environment. They've proven now with the technology that's available, you do not need to go into, say, the centre of London. You can do it from home on a big 75-inch TV. It's just like you're in the same office. You can't complain about webcams because you are technically at work and you're in their office. So I think that's going to happen with the schools. I honestly do. We'll ask the anonymous teacher in a minute, but I honestly believe that they must be looking at it and going, yes, this is the future. We're going to be, you know, which is going to be sad because you're not having that one-to-one with those children. So that might be the only thing that stops this technology from happening. And
that's what children thrive from as well. Children thrive from having teachers in front of them and peers around them. So it's like you said, Chris, you know, it's not like us teachers don't want to go back to school. We would absolutely love to be in school. We didn't ask this to happen. You know, it's no one's fault that it did happen. It's just one of those things that kind of props up. And it's one of those things that we've gone, right, this has happened. We have to deal with it. And I feel like we have dealt with it in a really good way. And I say that to all teachers across the country at the moment. I think they are all doing a fantastic job. And we can only do what we can do at the moment.
Sorry.
When you do a video link with your pupils, do you actually see them as well? I know you're saying that it's recorded and then they can look it back later, because I would have thought that when you're in class, you can see eye to eye, you can see the body language, you can see who's taking on what's being taught and understood, and you probably can identify saying, no, this person needs a little bit more help. You can't do that if it's on a recording, can you?
So all of our lessons are live streamed. So we create the links, and the children join the links at a certain time for different lessons. We'll post out the timetable daily so they can see what lessons they have that day and when they have to click on the link. They talk to us live, but we also record the lessons for children who might not be able to join it live, which is what I meant by the recording before. So all of our lessons are live. But if they wanted to, say, go and watch it back at another point, or if they missed the input, they could go back and watch it. So they can ask us questions. There's, with the technology that we use, we've got some really cool features on it where the children can raise their hands and they can ask questions. They can share their screen and say, look, I'm really stuck on this. And then you can guide them through it as well. So as Chris said, there is a lot of really clever technology out there that we're using at the moment that the children are also getting really used to. Obviously, it does help having that kind of one-to-one support there. And I think that's what the parents are finding most difficult at the moment is having to kind of sit there, especially with the younger years, and support their children through every task. But it's just one thing that, that we've got to do at the moment.
So if you've got 15 or 20 pupils in a lesson, do you actually see that many pictures of those youngsters on your screen?
We won't see that many people. We will only ever see nine pictures on the screen, and the rest will kind of be all down the bottom. But if the children wanted to ask a question, as soon as they speak, their picture pops up on the screen so you can see who it is.
Wow.
You can also have kind of one-to-one chats with them as well. But the majority that we're kind of teaching at the moment can vary anywhere between 30 to 160 students.
Can I call you back?
We're back.
Sorry, phone call.
No worries.
Yeah, don't often happen, does it? Like phone call, money in the office. Oh, dearie me. Anyway, you must come back on and we're talking after we get to that point of a week or two into the new system. I know Loki wants to ask you a question, so we'll do that first.
First off, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to you and to all the teachers across the UK and globally as well. I think if we all sit down and think about it, we can all pinpoint teachers that have helped us develop into who we are today. So you guys do an amazing job, and thank you all so much.
Thank you, that means a lot.
And the question I wanted to ask is, what can we do to help you as teachers through this time? Because it's got to be scary for you guys as well. Going back to work with your families, things like that. What can we as people do to help you guys?
So it's a really, really unsure time at the moment for everyone. And as you said, it is a really, really scary time, especially for teachers and for students who are kind of going back. I think all the parents out there who are sitting at home and homeschooling their children, are keeping in, are socially distancing, are following all the guidelines, are doing exactly the right thing at the moment. The parents who are out there supporting their children from the home, we can't thank them enough. They are doing an absolutely amazing job. I know there are parents out there who are really struggling. They might have dyslexia, they might struggle themselves with maths or English, but they are doing a brilliant job of sitting down and supporting those children. So don't give up. I know some days are harder than others, but they are doing really, really good jobs. So any parents out there who have been supporting their children with homeschooling and have had those days where you're really struggling, just know that, us teachers, we are here to help. Don't feel afraid to ask any questions. We will be there to support you, just like you are there to support your children. I think the most important thing at the moment to do is just follow government guidelines, make sure you are socially distancing, don't be reckless. I know there's been a lot about people coming down here and going to the beaches and stuff like that. But all we can say is, if we want this to be over as soon as possible. So all you can do is follow the government guidelines and stick by it, and just to keep safe and be happy and keep smiling.
I bet you'll be looking forward to the summer break, won't you? Because a lot of people might be saying, oh, well, the schools haven't been open for the last so many weeks. But as what you're saying, there's so much work what's been going on by you and all your colleagues. I suppose come to the 6 weeks break, you're going to be totally exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think all teachers are kind of feeling the same at the moment. We are kind of exhausted, and it is very, very different having to sit at a computer from 8 till 5 every day, supporting the children online. It's very, very exhausting. I don't know how people in offices manage to do that, to be honest. So yeah, it is really different. We just want this to be over and finished as quickly as possible, so we can get back to school and we can get those children back to semi-normality if we can as soon as possible.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully it does. Stay safe. Thank you indeed for joining us today. And
Thank you for having me on.
Send our regards and love to all your colleagues.
I will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
There you go. That's what it's about, isn't it? Now, the other thing which has happened, news just broke. Can you see that? Premier League clubs voted to resume contact training.
Does that mean I can play football now?
I think so. It's a little bit like...
Before, so...
I saw something actually where there was a picture of a goalkeeper and about 4 or 5 defenders so wide apart, and somebody scored. He shouted at the defenders and they turned around and said, "Social distancing."
Very good.
Goodness gracious.
Very good.
It's going to be nice for things to be open. I mean, I'm going to admit, I'm looking forward to the shops being open again. I'm looking forward to, going and seeing friends of mine that work in the shops and only really get to see whilst they're working.
Yeah.
But I will admit, I do worry sometimes that maybe we are going a little too quickly with opening things up.
God knows
what do you guys think?
Going. God knows where it's all going. Who knows?
Because I don't know if you've seen whose comments yesterday, warning of immediate recurrences.
Yeah.
Once it's lifted, and I've got to admit that's really quite scary.
Yeah, that's going to be the other thing. It's going to take a lot of people, especially people with nervous positions. It's going to take a lot of people a long time to trust. You're going to get a bit like the old Japanese during the Second World War, who weren't found until 1970s. You're going to get people that are just going to stay in for the next 10 years. And you are, because, they won't know anything, especially some older people. The other thing that we could have a program on, Martin, would be our industry, because I think the ENTS industry is going to suffer the most, like probably football stadiums, because that's mass gathering, and that ain't going to happen for at least 2 years. So I think you're going to see. I don't think you're ever going to see the entertainment industry the same again. I don't.
There's something which happened. I noticed on one of the forums that I'm on. There's somebody actually come up with this idea of selling a Perspex surround for DJs to stay safe, so nobody can spit, no one can breathe on them, and that's what that people have started thinking about buying. But how
they want to have an audience? They want to have an audience.
Exactly.
Will everybody be walking around with a pod? You know those big blow up balloons that you can climb in and roll across water. Is that how people are going to go dancing?
Well, it will be a novelty, and people will try it. But I honestly believe, like now, all your, dare I say it, people like U2, Queen, even Oasis and that, they're not going to play any rock stadiums for the next 2-3 years. And by then, people will go, who? And new bands ain't getting a chance to come up and play the live thing. So
there's lots and lots of music which is being put out at the moment. Every day I'm getting lots of music coming through, but there's no live performances, though I think that's going to be one of the subjects for one of our chats, is to actually get some musicians on, local musicians, and playing their music. Talking about musicians, I don't know if you saw on the news, I missed, and it got picked up on, that Brian May had a heart attack.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
And he's had 3 stents put in.
Yeah.
So if he picks up on this on our Facebook, get well soon, Brian, and
Definitely get that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I hope it all works out.
He had an injury from gardening, and the pain was that intense. It obviously he had the problem with his arteries, as we all have, but it exasperated it, and that's what happened. And I think without the injury from the gardening, he might not be here now.
Yeah,
because he was in the right place at the right time. He'd gone to the hospital.
That's good.
Well, going back slightly to the comments about the lockdown being lifted in certain places, and as you said, the regional lockdown has been brought in. I'm just going to put it out there now. I don't think that it will be too long till North Devon gets put under a regional lockdown again. Simply because once everything's open, people are going to come to the beaches. You know, we're going to have a lot more of the tourists coming back, and there is a chance that they'll meet with them. So I think we just need to be so safe for a minute.
Yeah.
It's like the anonymous teacher said, even when this lockdown is lifted, I think we need to stick to those government guidelines. We need to be careful.
It's worth going on for a lot more longer.
Anyway, our next session will be on Friday at 12:30. We'll be talking finance, how it is affecting everybody in the lockdown and the sudden release of the lockdown as well. Do you worry about your finances? Do you worry about should you be putting money into investments? Should be taking money out? And I have a professional person, Mr. Milton, who will be joining us, and hopefully you will do as well. Thank you to Loki, thank you to Chris, and thank you for watching as well. Have a lovely day.
See you all soon.